Assembly Bill 1333 was introduced last week. It would place restrictions on self-defense rights in California, including the rights of people protecting their homes. Action News Now reporter Jesse Angelo takes a look at the bill and what one local sheriff is saying about it.
AB 1333 was introduced last week by Assemblyman Rick Chavez-Zbur from Los Angeles. The bill seeks to eliminate certain circumstances under which homicide is justifiable, including home defense. It also outlines circumstances where homicide is not justifiable, such as when a person uses more force than necessary to defend themselves against danger. Many law enforcement officials have come out criticizing the proposed legislation. I spoke with the Tehama County Sheriff Dave Kane to get his perspective.
We are swinging so far outside the realm of what is reasonable by telling people now that under certain circumstances they can't protect themselves in their own home against a criminal element is probably one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard of.
Current state law, known as the Castle Doctrine, states homicide is justifiable when committed in defense of habitation, property, or person. Sheriff Kane says he thinks this law is sufficient and that there's already a procedure in place to determine justified versus non-justified homicide.
That is what the district attorney's office does. They look at the evidence, they look at everything that comes forward, and they make the determination on whether this rises to the level of justifiable homicide under self-defense or if it is actually a homicide.
Some gun control groups have come out in support of the bill, but the amount of criticism Zbur received prompted a response where he promised to make amendments to the bill, saying, quote, "The goal is to prevent wannabe vigilantes like Kyle Rittenhouse from provoking violence and claiming self-defense after the fact. We will amend the bill to make this crystal clear," unquote. Sheriff Kane says any amendment is likely to be irrelevant.
I don't know how you could modify it that would make it any other way than the way that I read it, which is that we are trying to make it illegal to defend yourself in your own home.
Sheriff Kane tells me he and California's 57 other sheriffs will be discussing this bill at their next meeting. In Redding, Jesse Angelo, Action News Now.
And Action News Now also reached out to Butte County Sheriff Corey Honey for his thoughts on the legislation. He said, in part, it would negatively impact a person's inalienable right to defend themselves or others against attack, and that it creates an unreasonable and subjective standard for people who legitimately fear for their lives.